Three, two, one. Hi, friends. Welcome to the R&R Show. We are going back to the OG name, the R&R Show, because we want to remind people that it's all about rest and relaxation, and also Rahdo and everyone else that starts with an R. So the second R stands for all of us. How the heck are you, friends? I'm Ruel with my co-host Chris and Ray, and very special guest Grant Lyon today in the house. How's everyone doing?
Fantastic. Well, I was doing great until I realized that you and Rahdo just wanted to put us all in our place and remind us that we're nothing to you
Yes.
with that name change. I was feeling very good, and then now I know that I'm a worthless little worm. And so honestly, it's a standard. It's a standard for me. It's just my ordinary. So yeah, feeling great.
Nice. The most welcoming
I'm
show on
doing
the
good.
internet, folks.
But I am very cold. I don't know if anyone else on the Eastern Coast is getting hit by the blizzard right now, but I'm in Pennsylvania and I can't leave my house. So happy to sit here and talk about board games.
I forgot my sleeves. It's so warm here in Los
Oh,
Angeles.
okay. Yeah, I'm complaining to a bunch of Californians. Whatever. Someone in chat will commisserate with me.
Yeah, I'm
It's
up in
awful.
Canada, so that's just
right.
our normal. It's our normal.
Oh, that's right. You're Canadian.
I have no idea what snow
I can't
is.
leave. I also can't leave my house, but that's because of my crippling anxiety.
There you go. Yeah.
There's that.
Nice. Want to welcome everyone in. Thank you for hanging out. This is actually the pre-show, and what you get to see is all the behind-the-scenes stuff that we do here during the R&R Show recording of the R&R&R Show. I'm so used to saying all the different R's. It's going to take me a little while to get back.
I know
into it.
It is a good switch back again to remind the viewers that we're garbage to you.
No.
Those are Chris's words, not mine, folks. So we had a show last week, had a great time. I want to thank Robert Geislinger from Arcane Wonders for hanging out with us last week. That was wonderful. Thanks again, Robert. But we've got a gentleman who recently lost his YouTube channel, which to all of us on this side here, it was like the most frightening thing in the world, right? But Grant, you want to fill us in? If there's anyone here that doesn't know who you are, can you talk a little bit about yourself and also what the heck happened to your YouTube channel, man?
Oh, sure. I am a comedian, and then I started getting more involved in the board game space during the pandemic. I had gone to conventions and things like that. I think maybe my first convention was like 2017, but I wasn't making any content about games until all of my tour dates and shows got canceled. And so now I'm one of the most followed people on TikTok for board games. I suppose that's my main platform, but I also do things on Instagram and YouTube and stuff like that. Silly and informative. I guess that's my voice. So yeah, and with the YouTube channel, I am a crazy person and can't just talk about my top 10 games of the year. So I have 10 top 10 videos where I do like my top 10 cooperative games of the year, my top 10 family games of the year, my top 10 party games of the year, because there's just more than 10 games every year. And I also like breaking it down into like manageable categories because I'm often looking for specific things. And so while I was in the middle of doing all of those videos, YouTube was like, this content is too good. You're banned.
That's weird that you got that notification,
Oh.
that specific flag that they created
Real
just
honor.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
I think it was Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast was intimidated by you.
I've got competition. He's not giving away millions of dollars. He's giving away board game knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More valuable than anything.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So I just got a form email that said, due to scams, spams, and deceptive practices, your channel has been permanently deleted. And the crazy thing about a permanent deletion is also that you can't start another YouTube channel. Like you are banned from the
You're
platform.
like IP banned or whatever. That's wild.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I was like, whoa. And so I appealed the decision right away. And in my appeal, I said, I don't do any of this stuff. Did my account get hacked? Because the last night I had it was the night I was traveling home for the holidays. So I was using my computer in an airport. And I was like, oh, maybe somebody hacked me in this public Wi-Fi, sort of stuff. And
And
then
there
they were
were
like,
20 hooded figures
yeah,
trailing you with giant supercomputers as well, if we look at the airport footage.
And so, but then they denied that appeal, and they were like, we looked at your channel, it hasn't been hacked. Appeal denied. And I was like, whoa, wait, I didn't say that it was hacked. I was like, is that a reason? You can't just deny my appeal. I would
Wow.
still like to appeal the decision. And they were like, okay, we'll re-appeal it. And then they deleted it. They said I lost that appeal. And so I know some people that have friends that work at YouTube or that know people of people sort of stuff. So I just started texting some of my friends, and a bunch of people said, like, you got to go over to Twitter. That's like the best place to get their attention, which
That's
is
kind of dystopian. I kind of hate that.
I know it's
That's
crazy that, like, why do I need to go to a different platform to get your attention from the platform that I'm using? That it makes no sense.
Yeah.
But I just was like, okay, I'll try this, because the other stuff didn't work, and the level of support and
Hi.
okay.
I'm here.
Well, you still there?
I'm here. Are y'all?
And it looks like the stream might be broken.
Yeah.
On our,
Twitch just.
yeah, the chat saying YouTube found Grant again.
Oh no.
Okay. I can y'all are we back on?
At least it's still live.
We are still live.
That's always
What can people see right now? Can they see us?
Oh, we're still live.
We're good.
Okay.
Can y'all hear him?
Maybe.
Hi.
Yeah, but we can't. Yeah, Ruel's loading back up on our end as well. Yeah, we're back. We're back.
Okay.
So we are back.
We're back.
Okay.
It's YouTube. YouTube's tracking you down. YouTube's like, stop spilling the secrets. They're outside your house right now, banging on the door.
Yeah,
so weird.
Because I mean, that's the thing I feel like. I'm very grateful that I got my channel back, but obviously the process is broken, and I feel bad for anybody who doesn't have the community support behind them that were, I'm sure there have been countless people that were wrongfully terminated that didn't have the amount of people to weigh in and just never got anything back. That sucks.
Yeah.
And and some people, it's like it's YouTube is not a platform that you grow that fast on. And so it's like, to YouTube, your 1,000 subscribers or 5,000 subscribers is nothing. Like they don't care.
Yep.
But to you took a lot of work to get to that point, Like that was a lot of effort. And so it's frustrating for sure.
Yeah.
How long?
I do. To just side note, B Travis in the chat says, "Let that be a lesson never to rename the show again." As to why we crashed as well. I thought that was funny. I agree, B Travis. I agree, 100%.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, no, that's so scary. I mean, like, just as a content creator, there is always this kind of ruminating fear of the fact that we are sort of beholden to platforms. Like, I get sometimes nervous about Twitch, sometimes with Twitch laying off staff and stuff. I mean, I don't stream professionally full time, but that's where I met a lot of my friends, and that's a big part of like my social circle. It's my personal stream Raise Retros. That's where I hang out with people, and the idea that just like we have to in like the current age, we have to like go all in on a platform, but that can be so scary. Like with TikTok, and I remember back early like COVID-ish, they were talking about like, oh, they're gonna ban TikTok or whatever. It's that being beholden to a platform is so scary as a creator, and it never goes away. There's no fixing it, because platforms that you can think are really solid can get bought out by Elon Musk tomorrow and all of a sudden function entirely different. You never really know. It's very scary.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm lucky in that I have lived a weird lifestyle for a long time and am pretty used to boom and busts in my income stream and stuff like that. But I can't imagine somebody that like is like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna quit my job
This
and
is my
put
thing.
all of it into this stuff. I'm like, man, that and the fact that it could be taken away is just crazy.
Yeah. On a slightly more positive note, if you don't mind, I want to kind of go back to that transition from or to you becoming like this big personality on TikTok. You're one of the most followed board game creators on TikTok. I remember when I first found you through your YouTube channel. I think one of the first times I interacted with you, I sent you like a copy of Mechanica or something back when I was at Resident.
Yeah.
What was that? What was that decision like for you to like? I know you're still doing both, but when did you realize like, oh, TikTok has this exponential growth potential that YouTube
Yeah.
maybe doesn't have? What was that like for you?
Well, part of it for me, so I started making content during the pandemic, and I did not take it seriously at first because, it started from a real sort of pure of heart place. When I started making content, I literally only put them in my Instagram stories because to me, the reason I was making videos was to help my friends
Oh,
find games during like I was like, I'm the person that like all of my
Yeah.
friends are comedians and they come over and they like playing games, but they don't know what to look for or any of that sort of stuff. And we were playing so many games in my house, I was like, I'm just gonna make some like funny and short videos for my friends to help them like find games right now.
I didn't know that origin story. That's really cute that
Yeah.
it was just on your Instagram story. I love that.
It literally was only in my Instagram stories, and I didn't even have, like, a board game Instagram, and I might have put them on, like, my
Sure.
Facebook feed too, or something like
Yeah.
Yeah.
that. They weren't for public consumption, and all my friends were like, "Hey, man, these are pretty good, like, you should put this out more," and I was like, "I don't know, like, really?" Uh, and, like, to the point that I owned microphones and lights and things like that, and I used none of them when I first
Yeah.
started
Wow.
making videos. I was like, "No, what? This isn't a real thing. I'm just making these dumb, silly videos for my friends to help them find games." And
Yeah.
then, after a few months, I was like, "Alright, well, maybe I'll put a few of them on, like, my YouTube channel or whatever." And then I started putting them up on my YouTube channel, and then that was going for like 6 months where I was doing it there, but I was always just making short and sort of silly but informative videos, and then after maybe like a year of doing it there, I was like, I feel like maybe TikTok would be like better for my voice because
Mhm.
I didn't really wanna make video like my videos were 2 minutes on YouTube, a little bit
Mhm.
of information and a couple of jokes, and I just don't think that's the place for that. Like, it's not the
Yeah.
platform that is
Yeah.
looking
I
for
mean,
that.
I know the YouTube algorithm has changed a lot, but I feel in the last couple years it does favor longer form content than small like sub 5-minute videos for sure.
Yeah, but part of the reason I wanted to keep my stuff short is I was like, there's so many people that are doing great 10, 20-minute, 30-minute
For sure.
videos, like, what would I be adding to that space? Like, I don't wanna do that, I wanna do something different because I feel like
Mhm.
this is what people I guess what I thought of myself was like, I was never the place that you went to decide which games to buy, I was
Yeah.
like the place
Hmm.
you went to decide which games to look into more. Like,
Mm.
you could
That is
watch
a
10 of
difference,
my
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, you could
You're like
watch 10
piquing
of my
people's interest
videos. Yeah,
as
exactly. It's
opposed
like,
to fully explaining it. Yeah.
yeah, you could watch 10 of my videos and go, "Oh, these 3 games look good. Let me go to somewhere else to find out more about those 3 games that I like."
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Well, if I'm doing, like, short, silly stuff, it feels like TikTok is maybe the place for that, so
Yeah.
I'll try that." So I started my TikTok about a year after I started my just making board game content, and then, yeah, that grew. I think I was justified in the sense that I was like, "Oh, yeah, this is, like, the right place for my
Yeah.
voice
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
Yeah,
style,"
absolutely.
you
Oh,
know?
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's such a cool story to it. I really love that beginning of just like telling your friends on your Instagram story. And I feel like that does still kind of follow through to your content today. It is just like, here are some things you might like. And if this hook interests you, you like can go hear
Yeah.
it more in
Mhm.
depth somewhere else. And that is always the hard thing in like such a niche hobby is finding a way to lend an interesting and new like spin on because we have people who do great playthroughs. We have people who do get great run throughs. I wonder what channel does a great job at that. But like coming up with a new spin that's providing something of value that's new to the industry is hard. I mean, board games are board games. They're not like
Sure.
revolutionizing that often.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And I feel like you were one of the first people to really embrace TikTok. I feel like now the industry has finally realized it, but those
Yeah.
first couple years where TikTok was mainstream but hadn't quite made it to the mainstream board game space yet.
Yeah.
I think it's very commendable that you jumped on it as early as you did before people really knew what board
Thank
game
you. I
content should
appreciate
look on
it.
the platform. It's really cool.
I appreciate it. I was lucky also in that I had a background that sort of made I didn't need to spend a lot
For
of
sure.
time like figuring out my voice or things
Yeah.
like that
Mhm.
because I have a whole sort of life behind that, I guess.
For sure.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's a great point, Grant. Like coming in, from the get go, like you knew who you were, and your voice was already refined through all your comedy and stuff. So those videos that hit, it was like, oh my gosh! I'm like, when I first saw you, like this is legit funny, and I love this, and I want more. And and it's so cool to see how much it's grown, and
Thank you.
also, yeah, and it was also that much. It hit that much deeper when the YouTube channel went away there for 2 weeks. I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. And
Yeah.
thankfully, everything worked out in the end.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you had to deal with that stuff with Twitch too, man.
Yeah, that was weird. We talked about that.
that's right.
Rahdo and I
yeah.
both got suspended indefinitely from
Right,
Twitch
yeah, I
for
remember that.
like
I remember
literally
that.
the same
But
day.
it was only like 6 hours or something.
Yeah.
Oh, was it really? Okay.
Still,
Yeah, we were very
it's
fortunate.
that ominous
Yeah.
hammer that's always like hanging that could just randomly bonk you for
Yeah.
like no reason. It's so scary.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And the thing was with Rahdo, what he was doing was, for his subscribers, he would send a secret playlist of videos to all the subscribers here on Twitch, and of course Twitch flagged it as spam. And instead of reaching out, we had neither of us had ever had any strikes against us. Instead of reaching out and saying, "Hey, you might have been hacked" or whatever, they just said you were suspended indefinitely. Here's where you can appeal. I was like, "What? Okay, great,
Yeah.
thanks." Yeah.
It is wild that they could just do it without like any conversation first or any of that sort of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, scary stuff.
Yeah.
Folks.
But at least it's back. At least it's back. We're seeing Olympian in the chat saying
Yes.
also that that Olympian says, "I watch Grant purely for the mustache."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
The other
there you
funny
go,
thing
Grant.
The other funny thing is this mustache was a pandemic thing too. So all the board game world knows me from this mustache, but I had so much of a life before the mustache.
Yeah.
Well, you have to stick with it. It's part of the brand now.
It's the
Right.
brand. It's you got to give the people what they want.
I've had some stand-up clips go viral, and like literally years later, people go, "I just figured out you are the same guy from that clip."
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a mustache.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Friends in chat, thank you again for hanging out with us today. You're watching the pre-show of the R&R show. We're going to be talking about our top 10 party games real soon here. Just hanging out, getting to know Grant a little better. If you feel like subscribing, please do so. And you can do so for free with your Amazon Prime account. And if you do, you get all kinds of goodies. Unfortunately, you're not going to get a playlist because Twitch will ban us. But you do get merch discounts. You get all kinds of fun stuff, including those little avatars that you see right below. Y'all are gonna duke it out right before we start the recording of the show. But anyways, we got a few more minutes before we get going. Grant, what is so we're here in 2024, about 2 weeks in. Any big news or anything you want to share coming up real soon on your end? I know you're always out on the road doing shows and stuff. I'm dying to see. I missed it the last time you were in LA doing your comedy show, board game comedy show. Do you have any plans in the near future on that end?
Yep. I will be at Tantrum Con in like a week and a half.
Nice.
And I will be at the Level Up retreat the week after
Nice.
that.
I'll be there too.
Nice.
Level Up.
Cool.
Sweet. And then I know I'm already gonna be at Dice Tower East doing the show and
Nice.
some other spots too. So yeah, I'm out there doing the show.
Right on.
Very cool.
What about Dice Tower West? Are you gonna do the show at Dice Tower West in Vegas?
No, because it's the same time as Gamma.
Oh,
So,
that's right. Oh, yeah.
I don't know. They gotta chat more. I don't know who did that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're overlapping, so I'm not. I won't
right.
be at West,
Forgot
which
about
I
that.
actually need to do because I know that West has one of the best flea markets. I've talked to like Shu and Christina from Going Analog
Yes.
do a lot of their culling at West. And so I literally was asking for advice because I just, for the first time in like 2 years, I went through all of my collection and pulled out stuff. So I have, I don't know, something like 140 games to get rid of.
Yeah.
Just crisp 140.
Yeah, it's a lot. And they're all stacked in a non-functioning bathroom.
Nice.
In the garage.
Nice.
I love it. Yeah, Dice Tower West is the place to sell games and get rid of them.
That's what I mean. It's like I don't know how to get. I don't know what to do.
You just have to incorporate it into your show. At one point, you take out a game and you throw it into the audience.
Yeah, you do like a T-shirt cannon, but with a 20
board games.
Yeah. Like a 5-pound box.
Like Oprah, something's taped under every game.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
you never
awesome.
know. People should start getting their tickets to any Grant Lyon show because it might be happening.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Oh, that would be
Now,
great.
The last time I got rid of a bunch of games, and this was actually a pretty good way to do it. I also understand that like some people would be uncomfortable doing this, but I essentially was like, I put in the Los Angeles Facebook board game group, like chat group or whatever, and I was like, this Saturday, if you come to my house, you can get any free games you want. I'm not sending them.
It's the come to my house line that I think freaks out a lot of people.
That's where I was like, I was like,
if
I
you
don't
come
care.
to my house to this old abandoned bathroom, there's a lot of goodness that you can find there.
Picture of your bathroom. Oh God.
But it really was. I was like, I'm putting no effort into this. I don't want to.
Did anybody show up?
Meeting you somewhere. Every single game got taken.
Nice.
Really?
That's the way to do it.
Wow.
That is the way to do it. I just recently did a culling this past weekend, and I had over 100 games, almost 150 games, and I sold about and got rid of about half of them. And it was to the point, it's like things are like $5 and up. And, you know, by the end of the day, you know, I was there for a couple of hours in front of my house. I told people on that Facebook group, actually, Grant, and they came over. And by the end of the day, it was like, hey, you buy one game, you get 4 for free. You know, it's like, yeah, here's 4 more games for you.
And you're just like, these are priced to move.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I try to just do big bundles.
Yep. Yeah, that's the way to do it as well.
You've never culled, Ray? Is that
what
what
I was gonna say? I've never culled a single game.
No.
I'm a little pack rat.
Oh my
little
gosh.
pack rat.
How many games do you have, Ray?
I probably have like 150.
That's not bad.
And
that's not bad.
It kind of chills around there. And the thing is that like I can pawn them up on my mom, which is typically what I do. I'm like, I'll play this when I come home, and I'll give it to her because she's got a bigger house than me. And I'll just give it to
that's
her.
culling. That's culling.
That
in a
is
sense.
culling. Yeah.
I think
I don't know
it
if I'd
counts.
call it that. If she then gets rid of it, I don't feel bad. I know she does. I know that I'll give her games and then they'll magically disappear from the house. So it makes me feel better about
so that's 100% culling. It's just it's a 2-step process, but it's
fundamentally
still a
disagree.
Fundamentally disagree. They're leaving your house and they're never returning, and
they're staying in the family. It doesn't count.
They're staying in the family. No, it's like you're passing it to your mom under the table and she's just throwing it into a dumpster. It's like, hey.
But if
it's
she
like
asks me, she's like, "Can I get rid of this?" I'll tell her no. So she'll do it behind my back. She'll get rid of them. So I'm not part of that process.
Oh, okay.
Right. So it's like you giving your mom your trash all the time and saying, "Hey, I've never thrown out a single thing in my life, but I just dump all my garbage on my mother and she puts it in the trash bin for me."
Yeah, she's a wonderful woman. She's really helping me out.
Ray's never thrown out a single thing. Really not environmentally conscious.
Feels like you're gonna
Does not believe in recycling.
We're very environmentally conscious, depending on how you think about it.
That's true. Ray's creating her own island.
Yeah.
Her own trash island.
Yeah.
All right, I feel very validated. Emily in chat says she's never called anything either. Pack rats unite. I'm so glad. Thank you for saying that.
I would rather not, because I'm at this hard point now for the first time in my board game journey. It was easy to get rid of games I didn't like, but now I am having to get rid of games I like.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
I'd cry, Grant. I personify objects way too much. I'd be in tears. And no. What if someone I loved gave me that game, Grant? Like,
yeah.
Bro,
no, ma'am.
Yeah.
No, here's the thing though, right? There's somebody that you loved is actually crying every day that you don't play that game. And
Yeah, yeah.
if only it went to a loving home, like just think about Woody and Buzz, right? Think about Woody and Buzz and how they were
Oh.
just sitting in a box and
Okay,
their
all
lives were
right. Don't start
miserable,
whipping
really,
out the
right?
Woody and Buzz metaphors on
No, I'm
me. I'll
sorry,
cry
but
right here, right now.
I'm just
I'll
thinking
cry
about
at you.
I'm just thinking about the horrible life that all of your board games are living right now, right? This is so. I just feel for them that
Oh my God.
you're hoarding onto them in your clutches, and you're not letting them get the playtime that they so justly deserve and need to sustain their own happiness.
All right, let's talk about party games, shall we? Before I cry on stream. I'm a fragile little boy.
Oh my gosh, Chris with the Toy Story. Can't go past that. Friends,
This would be Travis.
there it is. Yes,
Chris off the top rope.
Very nice, man. The people's elbow coming right down on us.
The people's elbow.
Yeah. As far as calling on, Grant, you're so right. Like getting rid of games that you don't like, it's easy,
Yeah.
Of course. But it's those ones that, like, I just got rid of one of my favorite games of all time, The Voyages of Marco Polo, and that game is a fantastic Euro, and it was killing me to get rid of that, but you've got to make hard decisions sometimes, and
But you loved it.
I did.
I loved hearing Ray's whisper there. Why? the horror.
I could never.
The horror in
I
her
could
voice.
never.
Yeah.
If I would describe a game as I love it,
Yeah.
no. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Well, here's the thing. I
sweating.
love that game, but I love my space a little more. So I literally, we have
God.
my studio here where I do my work.
You just needed space.
I
You
did.
just
I
needed
need the space.
Sometimes, sometimes you need a break from the things that you love. You need
Exactly,
space.
because it was overtaking my house. Like the hallway, there's games in the hallway. There's games in the living room. There's games under the living room table. There's games in my bedroom. There's games, it's just getting ridiculous.
Nice.
We have a garage. There's no space in there. Yeah. Got to make some tough decisions.
Like for me, there are two ways it stays on my shelf. One is I'm going to at least play it like once every other year. Like you don't even have to be an every month game. Like,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
if you make it every other year onto the table, I'll keep that. Or you're a good recommendation game, even if I'm not gonna like. There are games that I still recommend because people ask for these specific things, and like I don't really play that. Like I am not playing the Harry Potter deck building game actively anymore.
Right.
But when somebody wants hey, I want to try deck building, that's one of the best games to tell people for
Agreed.
that. And so, because I mean,
I wonder who published that game.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Thinking of.
well done.
I wasn't even
Continue
thinking
to talk
of
about how
you.
great it is, please. Thanks.
They seem like a really great publisher.
But legitimately, like I played through all of it once. I probably am not gonna play it again because I enjoyed playing through it all. But now I've moved on to sort of more advanced deck building. But it's always going to be a recommendation for like an intro level deck building game.
For sure.
Absolutely.
I want to say, Olympian says, I'm done chasing the cult of the new and want to focus on great games I already have. That's a big part of it for me. First of all, I just have a limited budget in general. And I really got into board games in college and stuff where I had a really limited budget. I am very, very selective about games I buy. And sometimes it honestly makes me kind of self-conscious and anxious as like a board game content creator and as someone in the space that some people ask me like, what's your favorite game that you got at Gen Con or your favorite games of the year? And sometimes the answer is I didn't get any. Like I've heard of ones, I can tell you what I've heard, but I'm very selective about what I actually purchase, which is part of how I've kept my collection at a manageable size without culling. And it's also because I'm not an independent reviewer, Grant. I'm sure games just like show up on your doorstep sometimes. Like once you get on people's like press lists or mailing lists as a well-known content creator, you will just get games. That has never been my reality because I've always worked for publishers. So that is weirdly a blessing, at least for me, because if I were getting like games from publishers all the time, because I wouldn't be able to get rid of them, and I would drown and die in games because I would feel so guilty that this was given to me and that I like don't like it, and so I've been very selective about the games in my collection, which is part of the story behind why I don't call.
I played 265 games for the first time in 2023, and my shelf of shame grew.
That's insane. That would give me so much anxiety. No.
Yeah. You know, it's
but I think that's it. I think also once you make that first call, it gets easier. Because I also feel like I was in the similar. I was definitely in a similar space. I can't get rid of this. Like my sister gave me Dominion for my birthday, 10 years ago, right? Like I was like, oh, this, I need to hold on to this because it was given to me.
Yeah.
But when I think about like the ability to swap and trade, and that a lot of board gamers keep their games in really good condition anyway, and like you could, the intention of the gift is not because my sister thought Dominion was going to be an amazing game for me. The intention of the gift was that, hey, you're really getting into board games. Dominion is one of the more talked about ones at that time, right? So like, I've heard about this thing. Why don't you try it out and enjoy it and like experience it? And so like, I feel if you think about the intention of that gift, the intention of the gift is like, hey, play a fun game that you will enjoy. Not have a box on your shelf that you get to look at. And so if you're able to trade that into a fun game that you will enjoy, then the gift kind of continues that cycle rather than just stopping.
It's also like, if I gave you a t-shirt, I'm not expecting you to have that t-shirt for your entire life.
To frame it and keep it on your wall.
That's perfect.
I feel like
that's so true.
I feel like Chris has got to do like board game therapy almost. I feel like you need
to
record that and like put like genuinely, that felt like a therapy session just now when you're like they gave it to you for the experience. They don't need you to hold on to it forever, like genuinely.
Yeah.
That's like very helpful to hear, and it's actually kind of a cool perspective.
I love that.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, that is great.
Well, I think just because like that's what also helped me sort of get past that hurdle as well. Like, because I definitely like I was teasing you, but I definitely like resonate with your feeling of like never calling. I can't call like these are beautiful things. But then when I started doing it and starting to sort of feel the freedom, right? It's that sort of I feel like as board gamers we also get into that collector's mentality or that hoarder mentality quite easily, right? And then and we don't even feel we don't even feel like it creeping up on us until it's creeped up on us. And I think that's for a lot of like too much of something, but then like purging it out and like creating that space and getting that unused bathroom again for your dance parties. The famous Grant Lyon dance parties that haven't been hosted in months now because the dance floor has been occupied. But like just creating that space, it feels sometimes like a sigh of relief in terms of like the weight is off of your chest, because I feel like there's also this weight of the shelf of shame, right? The idea of like, oh no, I'm not using these things and I want to, but then every time you want to really use that thing that you keep for that one specific purpose, your hand reaches for that other thing, right? Like I think about those in terms of like some Halloween games I've gotten rid of. Like I've gotten rid of Betrayal at House on the Hill at this point, and like it was something I loved, like super would absolutely recommend it. I'd recommend Betrayal Legacy over Betrayal House on the Hill because I think it's a bit more balanced, but or like streamlined or whatever. But I was like, no, I gotta keep it because that's the Halloween game. And then a Halloween passed, and then a Halloween passed, and I had people over specifically for Halloween games, and we didn't get that one to the table. And I was like, well, if I'm only keeping it for this specific group of people at this time, and we don't even play it then, why am I holding on to it, right? And so that idea also like helped when thinking about that perfect, because I know I think about this, I'm like, no, I got to keep that. I got to keep that for when I have 6 players over for 7 hours and we have nothing to do. And so like when that perfect opportunity happens and it doesn't get capitalized on like over and over and over again, like sometimes it won't get capitalized on, whatever. You give yourself a pass. But that's also another sort of like framing that has really helped me in terms of like feeling good about getting rid of things. And now I'm like, I'm actively excited. I think it's also because I have like a smaller space too. Like I live in an apartment in Toronto. And so my game collection is also like around 150-ish. And I've gotten to the point where looking on my shelves, I'm like, I'm so close to looking at a shelf and being like over the moon excited to play any one of the titles. Not just like, oh yeah, that'll be fun, but like, whoa, I look at this and I'm like, I can't choose. It becomes like a kid in the candy store sort of thing. And thinking about that going for that perfect shelf, right? That perfect shelf of me being like, everything here is amazing. That also breeds a lot of excitement,
Right.
as opposed to just being like, oh, that one's okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's so well said, Chris. I don't. It might be the glasses that have just like really.
I think it is.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I put it here.
Glasses
I'll try saying
He's so
again.
scholarly and
Get rid of
insightful
your games.
today.
Get rid of your games. I hate fun.
See,
you should too.
We go from Chris Rubin aboard to there it
on.
is. The board game
That's
therapist, folks. The board game
Yeah.
therapist.
That is your therapist outfit now.
Yeah, that is great.
Yeah, it's the cardigan too.
It is the cardigan.
The calming cherry blossoms.
It's funny. So after I did my culling, I got rid of about 75 games. I was super happy, and literally this weekend I received a dozen games from publishers. So.
Yeah. That's my nightmare.
Yeah,
don't
constant,
send me games unsolicited.
Yeah. Again, I'll never complain. It's always like I always say it's like Christmas all the time in my house because I'm super excited, legit excited when a package shows up. I'm really happy, and it's a game. The day I'm not happy or excited about it is the day I walk away from it all, and that day has not come in yet. So.
What's everybody's sorry to cut, but what's everybody's most anticipated game that they want to play next? Like, Real, you mentioned you just got this large package. Is there anything out of that like you are more excited to play than anything else?
There's one in particular, but I cannot talk about it.
Oh, fair.
Yeah, you got the games. Why don't we get to our top 10 party games? Are we good to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
Party.
I think so. That'll be fun.
Okay, and one thing before we get going, I do want to make sure. So far, it seems like it's okay as far as volume, our levels, and everything. I've been checking it here. Everyone in chat, no one said anything yet, but I want to make sure Richard's volume is okay. So I'm gonna play this short video, folks. Let me know if it goes up or down, like how the volume is right now.
Hey gang, we're in the pre-show. I don't appear in the pre-show anymore, but Roel and I were talking about it, and I need to start sending, along with my other clips I make, just a weekly little sound test clip so that Roel can make sure that I'm not going to be significantly louder or significantly quieter than everybody else when they actually start recording the show a little bit later on. So here I am, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I think this is the volume I'm going to be speaking at a bit later, and by now, Roel has probably gotten, the volume sliders good. Hey, we're still here. We're about to leave Shipwreck Beach probably tomorrow or the day after. What we're really looking forward to. Honey, what's that town? Todos Santos? In a few days, we're going to be at Todos Santos helping release baby turtles back into the ocean. That's the update from the road, and I can't wait to see the final R&R. Grant, great to have you here. Alrighty, back to you again.
Okay, well, it sounds like the volume was great there, so thank you again, friends, for all that, for the checkup. And what we're going to do now is, well, first, we've got to send everyone into battle. So all of you who have avatars, you're going to fight to the death. The friendly death here on the show.
I love how casually you say it.
Yeah, I know.
Oh yes, all of you who have avatars, in case you didn't know, you're about to fight to the death, whether you like it or not. That's what's going to happen. You will fight to the death.
And hopefully y'all can hear this. I hope I've got the volume up. Nope, I probably don't. But y'all can see, hopefully, just make sure Rahdo doesn't win, folks. Beat each other up, and whoever wins is going to get some extra geek gold to upgrade their avatars.
Wait,
how can you use that?
I'm sorry?
Geek gold. How can you use that?
Oh,
geek gold?
you can get little costumes for like hats and whatnot for your avatar. Dress it up, and I think there's also commands that you can use to do other customization for your avatars. Okay, it looks like Scott O'Brien's one of the final ones. Ray's Retros is also beating up people.
Oh,
my
Ray!
Goodness,
Can Ray win? We shall
Nepotism.
Get him.
I mean, I don't think Ray's ever won, so
I have never won. This would be my first win.
Wow,
between you and Scott O'Brien. Ray versus Scott.
No, I'm rooting for Scott O'Brien. Let's be real. Come on, Scott O'Brien.
He just got help back. Uh-oh. It looks like Scott's going to take it down.
Nope. Scott. Come on, Scott. You can do this.
Ray just got
do
another
it for
health
Toy
pack.
Story. Scott, if you win, Ray has to call half of her collection.
Oh yeah, do it, Scott.
Her entire
no, Ray
collection.
says no. Ray says I'm keeping my games
forever.
Wow. Dang
Let's
it, Scott.
go.
You were the hero that Ray needed.
GG,
But now Ray gets to keep. Now
GG.
Ray gets to double her collection before sending any to her mom.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay, folks. So what we're gonna do now is turn this stuff off here because we're gonna be recording a show. Again, we will be focused in on talking about the games here on our list. We will come back at the end of the show to hang out with you all in chat, and we'll be sharing a bunch of games that didn't make the list as well. So we've got volume checks, audio checks are good, and I'll do a quick intro with the graphic and then come into this scene. And I believe, Chris, you're going to be the first with number 10. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. I'm excited.
Right? I do. Okay. Cool. All right. How are we feeling? We good to go, friends?
Yep.
I think we're good.
All right.
I
Cool.
think
Thank you so much. And where's the button I'm supposed to press? Is that the button? Yeah, there it is. All right. Hey everybody, welcome to the R&R Show episode 82. And here we are, friends. My name's Ruel, hanging out with my regular co-hosts, Chris and Ray, and we've got a very special guest today, Grant Lyon. Grant, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, super excited about this. Now, this is a topic that's near and dear to all of our hearts. I think I can honestly say we're all big fans of party games here, and so we've got 10 of the best, what we consider the best, folks out there. So why don't we kick things off? We're going to jump right into it. Chris, you've got our number 10.
Yeah, I'm excited to have a party with all four of you. This is the party that I've been waiting for my entire life.
Yes.
I've been sending out the invitations every one of my birthdays, and finally it's almost coming. It's coming true early. So I'm excited for this party game. Number 10 on our collective list is a game that I played just recently. And it still made the spot because it's so fun. I think Ray was telling me a little story about this. The first time this game didn't hit before the camera started rolling, so I'm sure she'll contribute. But that's not a hat. That's not a hat is cockroach poker meets some memorization elements to it. It's really, really good, and I really didn't expect it to be good, and it's very good. It basically, everybody gets a little item in front of them, a picture, right? You might have some pants, you might have a hat, you might have a snow globe, whatever it is. Everybody flips it up, you look at everybody's picture, great. Then everybody turns their pictures face down, and then somebody draws a new card which will have like a new item on it, and then there'll be an arrow which will tell them which way to push their other item. And so you're trying to keep track of these items going back and forth, swapping back and forth. And whenever you pass an item to somebody, you say, hey, that's a blank. That's some pants. That's a snow globe. That's a hat. That's a banana. And as long as you don't get called on it, that's what that thing is. But if you get called on it and you weren't telling the truth, if you had forgotten, then the person, then you have to keep the card. And the first person to get, I think, 3 cards loses the game. It's fast, it's frenetic, it's furious, and it's fun. The premise itself sounds like it shouldn't be that good, but it is very, very good, and it's something that I absolutely want to add to my collection. And we just played round after round of it. And when you play more than one round, then you start to get confused from the previous round, but that adds to the fun because everybody's like, what's going on? Sometimes people take a bold strategy of being like, yep, that's a hat. And that's a hat too. And that's a hat too. And you feel so intimidated. You can't call them on it. You know it's pants, but you can't call it on it. I just think this is a really, really solid game, a solid release, and really cheap too. It's just a small box, easy to buy, easy to play, plays great with a lot of people. That's not a hat.
Nice.
I love this game. I'm so glad this is on your list.
Yeah.
I love That's Not a Hat. And there are so many things I want to say about it, but one of my favorite things that you brought up, which is this game sounds bad. And one of my favorite things is games that sound bad but are actually fantastic. Games that you describe them, like even just now, you did a great explanation, but I can hear myself like if I
sounded...
hadn't played it being like, huh?
Oh yeah,
that
it sucks. It
it's
sounds
like
it
remember
sucks.
5 cards the game. That's like all it is. But it's so well executed, and my favorite thing is becomes almost this like internal like language of, if you say most confidently this is a boot, it just becomes a boot, and it has some of the greatest reveals in any game of its size that I've seen, where at the end of the game we flip it over and it wasn't a boot the entire time, but you've just gaslit everybody at the table because you said it confidently enough 10 minutes ago that it was a boot. Those moments are absolutely fantastic. My one caveat, which you brought up, is that this game recently bombed at a game night for me. So my warning to all of you is don't play this game with a room full of medical students, which is what I tried to do last weekend. Turns out they don't like memorizing arbitrary information for fun. I'm sitting here being like, I'm using my brain in a fun new way because my entire job is creative. So memorizing like discrete things like that is not a part of my brain I use. If you have someone for whom that is their day in and their day out, if they just do flashcards all day, not a game that they're going to enjoy. But outside of that one fluke, outside of that one fluke, this game is always such a huge success for me. And I do love that when I pitch it to people, they're like, huh? And then I'm like, just play it. And by the end of the night, they're like, oh, that's brilliant. It's one of those games where I'm like, how hasn't this been made before? Because it's such a fantastic concept.
It's funny talking about the medical students. You know, they have their brains wrapped around.
They hated it.
Yeah, they have their brains wrapped around. Oh, I don't know, things like saving people's lives. You know, they're
no. I watched them like malfunction in real time trying to remember 5 cards. They were like, my brain has no space for this arbitrary information anymore.
Well, you just need to make it like weird body parts that they need to learn. Weird organs.
There you go. There you
go. I do say every time I teach this game, I always preface it by saying, you will be bad at this game. Everybody is bad at this game. That is what
that's
makes
a good
it
caveat.
silly and fun. Like, because some people are like, "Oh, I'm gonna go," and you're like, "No. You won't be able to do
vibe
that.
It out.
Try really hard. You won't be able to."
Yeah. And it's crazy how people can come into it with a lot of confidence. They're like, "Oh, I'm great with memory," and then after one round, they're like, "Shoot, where is everything?" Like it's wild how quickly you lose track of stuff. It's really almost insidious. Like it doesn't seem difficult when you're doing an example round. The second you try to actually remember stuff, it's really hard.
I also really love the story behind it. And whenever I'm playing this, I always lean into the story because when you get a new gift, you don't give away that gift. That would be rude. You give away the older gift that you have. And if you should mess it up some point, you take a new gift, but you have just messed it up. You don't deserve a new gift.
It's sort of like calling board games. You know, you get a new board game, you should get rid of the old one. Folks, if you want to hear more about our thoughts on calling games, be sure to click the links below for our friend the board game therapist talks us out during the extended edition of the show. So be sure to click that to find out all about what we're talking about here.
If you want to watch me have a real-time panic attack at just the thought of giving away a game, go watch the pre-show.
So great choice. Awesome game. That's not a hat. Let's move on to our number 9, and I believe this one goes to Ray.
All right. So our number 9 is going to be one of my absolute favorite party games. It combines 2 of my favorite mechanics, social deduction and drawing, and that is A Fake Artist Goes to New York by Oink. I love Oink games. I think I've already talked about like 3 Oink games since I joined the channel. I really love what they do over there. That is that's got a photo of a different game on top of it, Rule, if you want to just nuke that from it. And that one as well. That's a spoiler for
Who
a
knows
later
if that's
game.
gonna well, it might be honorable mentions. Who knows?
Oh,
it's endless.
It's endless. Oh my goodness!
Feels like the pictures are in cahoots with each other.
They're totally in cahoots with each other. Oh, Ray, continue talking about Fake Artist Goes to New York. Please.
Sure. So Fake Artist Goes to New York is a social deduction game where everybody you're gonna have one like whiteboard or piece of paper. The game comes with a really teeny tiny little whiteboard or drawing pad. I like to just use a regular standard like paper size whiteboard for this game. And everyone's gonna be drawing a thing. and everybody knows what thing we're drawing except for one person who has no idea what we're drawing. They are given a broad category. So say it's like water skiing. That's the thing we're all drawing. The fake artist will know that the category is, say, sports. So they have some frame of reference, which is a mechanic that I really like in this, that sets it apart from other social deduction games where you just sort of have like no information. I like you have some frame of reference for what we're drawing, and you're going to go around the circle twice, and everybody is going to draw something. It can be just its own like self-contained thing, like it can be a ski, or it can be, you can add on to other people's drawings and you can kind of create this one big communal drawing. I've seen people play it both ways. Both are equally as fun. And your goal as a real artist is to signal to your other real artists that you know it's water skiing, but to not give it away to the fake that the word is water skiing. It functions like every other social deduction game like this, where if the fake artist can identify what it is that we're drawing, even if they are outed as the fake, and they can say, I've figured it out, it's water skiing, they still win. So you, as a real artist, have to be vague enough with your drawings to not give it away to the fake, but also be poignant enough that your other real artists don't suspect you as the fake. And it's just one of my favorite social deduction games. It's nice and quick. It's not one of these, because social deduction can be kind of a tricky genre, and we're going to talk about that maybe a little bit later about what social deduction games count as party games. This can be super quick, super fast, and really creative. I've been playing this game forever. It's one of my favorites in the party genre. The one thing I want is I really want like a really clean digital implementation of this game, because I think this would be super fun to play on stream. Yeah, that's A Fake Artist Goes to New York. I don't have much more to say about it. It is just your basic social deduction drawing game executed really well. And a great intro to the genre as well for folks who are maybe a little bit scared to lie to their friends for like an hour. This is like, just gotta lie for a few minutes. And I do like that it has that mechanic where it gives you a little bit of information, so you're not just like solely based on like lying and swimming around in the dark.
Can I ask, have you played also both the Chameleon and Detective Club?
I have. And I prefer this game to both of those.
And that's kind of what I wanted to ask. Why do you like this one? So to anybody that doesn't know, the Chameleon is sort of this same concept, but no drawing, just talking. And Detective Club is sort of the same concept, but Dixit abstract artwork cards.
Yeah.
So why do you like this one more than those other ones?
I like this one more than the other ones because you can form a little bit more of a story with this one. The way you're at it, it feels more interactive. Like with Chameleon, you just have to say something and like not crack a smile and not say something accidentally really dumb. That's your goal. In Fake Artist, there's a little bit more of a space to, I can't say that word, to wow, I cannot think of a synonym for the swear word I really want to say. There's more space to just make stuff up, right?
Yeah.
And to build off of each other. There's that interactivity of we're all drawing this, like you can even see in the Shut Up and Sit Down video, like the nonsense of just everybody's like building on top of each other. There's a creative sort of whimsy to this. It's not just that sheer terror that I feel in Chameleon. That it's just my preference. It is the meeting ground of those two, like your visual social deduction, just your word social deduction. It marries the two really nicely. I do love both those other games as well.
Yeah, totally. No, I agree. It's probably easier. It's a little bit easier to blend in this game because you can kind of just draw a shape and draw it poorly and be like, no, I know what I'm talking about, you know?
Yeah. It's a little bit more forgiving on the fake than some other ones can be.
True.
I think that's a great point, Ray, because I'm not the biggest social deduction fan, and but something like this for someone that's new to it, it is very forgiving, right? And it's quick enough where the game goes by in 20 minutes or so. It's a really quick game, so you don't have to sit there and sweat for an hour, trying to figure out if you can lie to all these new people that you just met at a game night. One thing I
fool of myself. Complete fool. Well, won't be the first time, won't be the last.
Yeah. Just to reiterate what I was saying, I really love Oink Games and what they do.
Yes.
With all those, I mean, they're all pretty much the same size box, right? But they have so many different genres, so many different mechanisms, and I don't know who selects their games, but almost every single one of them hits with me and my group. And again, I'm not
For
the biggest
sure.
social deduction fan, but Fake Artist Goes to New York I've played it plenty of times. And it's always been a great time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that drawing aspect of it. That I'm a
Mhm.
horrible drawer,
Yep.
and so like I'm always going to be suspect in this game, and I just
Yeah.
think that really adds to the fun. This was on my short list as well. So
Yeah, nice. Okay. Let's move on here. What number are we on? I'm losing track. We're on number 8. Oh, is
we're
that
on
me?
number 8. So it's probably you or it's Grant, but I think it's probably you.
It is me. Yeah. So why don't I get this ready? So number 8. Okay. There was no way this was not going to be on my list. This one's a newer game, newish game, I would say. I should say. But it came out from 25th Century Games. It is a game called Green Team Wins. Now, Green Team Wins, for me, this is a type of party game that I really enjoy because it is one of those games that is super simple to describe in like a minute or two. And here's Kimberly Tolson, one of the contributors to the channel, playing all the different characters. I love this. So Green Team Wins, it's a game where you have different cards and you're going to fill in your answer to either like we have a fill in the blank here, or we have pick one of 3 and so forth. And you write on your board, and then you reveal at the same time, and then whatever the majority is, you all get a point going to and go to the green team. If you're already on the green team, you're going to get a bonus point. If you are not in the majority, you go over to the orange team, you don't get a point, and then you start a new round. It's 15 rounds. You play that 15 rounds in like less than 15 minutes, and then the most points win. That's it. That is like such a great game. It's one of those things where I feel like I've played this game before, but not in this like format or whatever. And just the novelty of, hey, we're on the green team. Yay, we get a bonus point. And then it's like, oh, darn it. Why didn't you guys write down my answer? Now I've got to go to the orange team. Boo. It's a lot of fun. I played this with all kinds of groups. Gamers, we love it as a filler. New gamers, they want to play it over and over again because it's so much fun, and like trying to suss out like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you didn't choose this answer rather than this, or this was the obvious answer. What are you thinking? It's got a lot of fun interaction like that, and that's why it's our number 8 on the list. Green Team Wins.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, to me, one of the things that makes good party games is games that are memorable, that create memorable moments. And I
Yes.
think Green Team Wins is a great game at that. You will always walk away with an inside joke where you're like, I can't believe Jeff thinks this thing here, whatever it is. But I think you always walk away from Green Team with a bit of a story to tell amongst your friends. It's also really fun, just like talking trash and stuff. I like,
oh yeah,
I like, party games that create that sort of, your friend group is what are making the jokes up and that sort of stuff. And I think Green Team Wins is great at allowing your friend group to talk trash and to have fun with that aspect of it.
Oh yeah, totally. I know one of the groups I play with, actually really close friends of mine, the main group that I play this with, there's always that thing like, oh, whatever the clue was, oh well, we all know Ruel plays the yellow meeple all the time or whatever, and then turns out he doesn't, or he does, or whatever. Those type of moments I really appreciate, Grant. And
right.
You have those stories to go on, and it's always it's fun because when you bring it to a new group, then you sort of see, okay, the dynamics change now. Because when I bring this to my family, when we play on like during family holidays, it's totally different. Especially when I have like my 10-year-old niece, and we have my mother, and it's just hilarious to see what people think of certain clues.
And I will die on certain hills in this game.
Oh yeah, totally.
What is the fruit with the most annoying seeds? Every time I have played this game, watermelon wins for the fruit with the most annoying seeds.
Wrong.
It is grapes. Wrong. You are not expecting there to be seeds in grapes. Nobody has ever expected. You don't buy grapes assuming there is going to be seeds in the grapes. It's infuriating. Like, if I
would have said nectarine.
Nectarines.
Yeah, well, I mean, It's
or no, Clementine.
It's a multiple choice one, and so I think the multiple choice is what I'm like remembering this specific card. It's a multiple choice one, and I think the card is lemons, watermelons, or grapes, and watermelon wins it every time. And I think it's BS. Okay.
No, then it's grapes. In that, it's grapes. 100%.
In those three choices, I'd 100% pick grapes. For
and
sure.
watermelon always wins it.
Yeah. I love that you know that watermelon's going to win, yet you stick to your guns. You are sticking to grapes every time. That's awesome. So that's our number 8, friends. Green team wins. Let's move on. We've got our number 7 from our guest of honor, Grant. What do you have for us for number 7?
Yeah, as I just mentioned, I like party games that create memorable moments, that get you talking about them afterwards, that you don't walk away remembering who won the game, you walk away remembering this one joke or this one moment and things like that. And I think one of the best games at doing that is Telestrations. So Telestrations is number 7. I mean, I have owned this game for a long time, and I don't know that I have ever kept score when I am playing Telestrations, because that's not the point of the game. Sure, there is a way to score and everything, but it's about flipping the stuff and laughing at what people drew and guessed. And anybody who's played this game remembers a specific moment when they're like, it started as this and it became this by the end. So if you don't know, Telestrations is like the little kid game Telephone, but instead of whispering something into somebody's ear, you are drawing something, passing it, that person is guessing what you drew, then you're passing it, then you're guessing what they drew, then you're, all that sort of stuff. And it's definitely one I want to play with big groups. Telestrations is not something I play with like less than 6 players, I feel like, ever, because the more you pass, the sillier it gets. And I also, I'm terrible at drawing, and this is a game that rewards bad drawers. When someone's like, "Oh, I'm bad at drawing," and I'm like, "No, that makes this game better." Like, I want to play with you then,
Yeah, this was definitely one of my top choices for this list. I love Telestrations. I think I've gone through like 3 copies in my lifetime of this game. I've gifted like 2 of the games, twice I can remember, where we played the game, and then whoever I was playing with, I just gave them the copy because they loved it so much. And Grant, you are 100% right. The worse you are at drawing, the better this game is. Because I've actually played with people that knew how to draw. I'm like, okay, yeah, that is obviously what you drew it was.
That's the thing. Like, you're just amazing.
You're just awesome. But then when I draw something, it's like, oh, this could be like 1,000 different things. And that's where the fun comes in, when people start misinterpreting.
I'm awful at drawing, so I like it for that reason.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely. I'm so glad this was on your list, Grant. This was going to be one of mine initially, and I'm glad you ended up talking about it so that I don't sound like I'm just seeding my own publisher's games into this, because this is one of the games that we make at the op, and it's just one of the most classic op games there is. It's such an iconic just thing to have in your party game collection. And I think one of my favorite things about it is something you mentioned, which is that you never keep score. One of the things that I think party games do the best, right, is they're really good with those non-gaming crowds. They bring people into the hobby, but there's always that one person who hasn't learned to like not take it too seriously yet. There's always that one person who will over gamify the party game, but you're like trying to loosen up, trying to get them to play a game, and they're like still too like type A about it and want to know how to game the rules. Telestrations is like the game I bring out with that person. I'm like, there are no rules. You just never tell them about the scoring mechanic ever. And it's like the perfect game for if you have that person who just needs that extra push to just not take it too seriously. Telestrations is absolutely perfect for that. And I will also say, if you've been playing this game for a long time, one of my favorite things to do with this game is to pick like, because a lot of times I won't even use the cards. I'll just have people write whatever they want. One of my favorite things to do with that is themes. I love, if you haven't yet, do a board game theme. Do like, you have to write like a weird sentence and have a board game reference in there somewhere, like a goblin sneaking in at night to steal my dice. Something like that. Make it like board game related. It can be a really fun twist in it. I do it a lot with my gaming group.
That's fantastic.
I like that a lot. Yeah, I think that's huge. I think the cards that are in there, I think because they're so small, they're usually kind of like 1 word or 2 word. Like, you want it to be zany so that so that it's very hard to draw. And if it's easy to draw, then it is less fun, as like you're like, okay, I just drew it perfectly. Like I'll never draw anything perfectly, but I love that idea of everybody just write something funny and then pass it to the next person, right? Like you don't even need to have cards that are shuffled. You just be like, okay, everybody write something funny. Like you
or
get
even
to choose.
if you feel like not creative enough, take that initial word that you get and turn it into a sentence. Like if you're bad at just like pulling something out of the void, have everyone draw a word and then you'd say like build a sentence off this word, because I find when it's a sentence it gets wackier and zanier.
Yeah,
it can be a lot of
We've done it before where you have to write a concept, so it's not a.
Ooh, I like that.
So it's like, how do you draw existential dread?
I love that. That's great.
Oh, that's great. I love that. Nice. All right. Great choice, Grant. Number 7, Telestrations. We got number 6 coming up. Richard is going to be joining us from Mexico. I believe it's number 6. Yeah, we are number 6. So, Richard, take it away.
Hey gang, Hey everybody. Okay, party games are tough for me because generally I only play 2-player with my wife, and party games traditionally don't work very well 2-player, or usually not at all, because they're for higher gaming groups, and so it is tough for a good party game design to work well at 2. And yet it does happen sometimes, folks. And those are party games I'm looking for. And our number 5 on the list is my second favorite party game of all time. For this specific reason, it is Oneironauts, which is basically, what do you get if you take the wonderful party gameplay of Dixit, make it fully cooperative, and then make sure it works really well as a 2-player game. And somehow Oneironauts pulls it off. Jen and I enjoy this as a fun little fast-playing 15-minute filler 2-player cooperative game, but it works at higher player counts as well. And it works so well. In fact, I mean, Dixit is a game I own, and I'll be talking about Dixit and a few other games in the Pro Show. Folks, if you don't know, there's a link down in the show notes. You can go to the extended edition of this, and myself and everybody else are going to talk about additional games that didn't make the list. I've got several more to talk about. And generally speaking, I look for party games that Jen and I can play by ourselves, and Oneironauts delivers. But how does it work? I haven't even said that. Basically, every round, there's going to be a card with a concept on it that's drawn. Everybody has to pick a beautiful Dixit-style abstract art card from their hand, put it face down into a pile, and then one random extra card is put into the pile as well. Then they're shuffled up, revealed, and everybody has to simultaneously guess which of the revealed cards is the one that was chosen randomly. And that's it. I've just explained the rules. The more people get it right, the more points we get. We're trying to score a certain number of points before time runs out. Although we can earn extra rounds to give ourselves more time if everybody can get it right on a given round. And those are really good feeling rounds. But still, the game is sharp, it's fun, it's fast. Dixit, traditionally, I have had a hard time teaching it to people because of some of the complexity of the rules and the strategy. Here, it's nice and simple and elegant. I could be up and running in less than a minute. Everybody is going to have a good time. Everybody's going to laugh a lot, and everybody's going to want to play it again immediately because it is so much fun. Interestingly, a game is from a Ukrainian publisher, the same developers who brought us Mysterium. And I don't know why, but nobody has picked this up for wide distribution. And, GameRight, other party game publishers out there, the Op, contact them because this game is fantastic. Right now, the only way you can get it, I believe, is to order directly from the Ukrainian publisher. But this should be available to more people because using cooperative games in a party scenario is, I think, the best way to convert people into board game fans. And often, these games have a little bit more complexity, but this one is so pure and clean and simple and elegant and beautiful. It is just the bee's knees. I've talked about this many times on the channel. I'm going to continue talking about it until somebody in the industry picks this thing up for wider distribution so everybody can enjoy it as much as me. That's number 5 on our list, folks. Oneironauts. Okay, gang, back to you.
Okay, Oneironauts. he sort of called out. He's like, "Hey, why doesn't the op pick this up?" I would love to see this.
I'll send an email after this.
There, yeah,
what I can do.
Please do. I would love to see this in a bigger audience, because it does seem really cool. I like that. Anything like Dixit, I think, is a really good way to get people to play, a party game that is. But I just want a new name. I didn't know how to pronounce this for like years. One Iron Ot Oniron. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but.
Yeah.
Oneaters. Yeah, it's the Oneaters, folks. Thank you, Grant. I appreciate that thing you do.
Thank you. I'm glad somebody got that reference.
Yeah, so just rename it but keep that Dixon art, and I would love to play this. I think it looks fantastic. Has anyone played this game, or have you even heard of this game? Like, I
never heard of it.
Yeah.
I was struck by Richard saying like, "Oh, it's cooperative. It's like Dixit. It plays great at 2 players." And I was like, "Well," and then he mentioned Mysterium in the same breath. I'm like, "Well, it's kind of feels Mysterium-esque to me in terms of that that range." But I haven't played this one. No.
Yeah. So yeah, you get that Mysterium thing. Like, I'm definitely interested in that.
I think this was mostly just Richard trying to prove that he has been around in this hobby longer than any of us. He has more knowledge.
Well, he's mentioned it so many times, like on so many shows. At least 3 lists before this.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, let's that's our first 5. Let's go to our top 5 now, and we're going to come back to Chris for number 5 on the list.
Oh, I'll wait to be number 1 because mine's the best.
You're number 1 in my heart.
Okay, fine.
Chris.
I'll do it now. I vehemently believe that this is the best party game out there. This is by far number 1. This is my number 1 game for people who hate games. Maybe. Yeah, I think so. I mean, we got to take a firm stance. Don't know maybes here. It is.
It's going to get a clickbait title, so go for
it's now my number 1 game of all time. And everyone here, it's all 4 of our number 1 games of all time, but it's happening at number 5 on our list. This is the game that takes code names and makes it better, and it is Wavelength. Wavelength, I think, and there's one reason that I'll explain why I think it is better than Codenames. So Wavelength is so slick in terms of you have a clue, and that clue is sort of a range, basically. So you can see this magic dial that's being shown on the screen right now by the lovely Grant Lyon, which I definitely knew it was Grant's video before I started talking. You can see that Grant loves this game. This is from Grant's top 10 games of all time. It's appearing at its number 1. Go look it up. It's the truth. Check him out. Hey, if you think I'm lying, go subscribe to him on YouTube. But yeah, so you'll have this range of something. It might be hot and cold. Let's say hot and cold, and then you'll spin that dial so that it ends up on a spot, and only the clue giver will get to see where the clue ends up, and then you cover it up. You cover it up so nobody knows where that is, and then you give a clue, and people have to put a little like pointy stick that's being moved around, but they have to do it blind in order to try to hit that sort of bullseye, that 4-pointer. And if you sync up, if you get on the same wavelength as the clue giver, you'll get the points. And if you don't, sometimes you're completely off. And all of the cards are more interesting than hot and cold. There's a hot and cold in there, but there's sometimes like good person and bad person. And then you might say someone around the table, right? And then you can talk about how good they are or bad they are. It gives all the great clue giving that Codenames brings, but it also, you don't have to wait until the game is over to talk about it. And that's what I really love about this, is that in Codenames, the spy master has to be completely silent, keep on giving out the clues, like you can't reveal anything. But at the end of each round, you're like, hey, did we get that? Oh no, you can laugh about it, you can talk about the funny things that happened, and it creates that discussion point, which I think is really important for party games as a vehicle for discussion and for laughter and jokes and fun. You can always talk about the thing that just happened instead of having one person be sitting in silent and keeping a poker face. But yeah, Wavelength is just so fantastic. It's I've never seen it miss in terms of party games, and was number 1. Was my number 1 thought when we were told to come up with this list.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Grant.
Are you okay? I sort of put party games oftentimes in sort of two buckets. There's the silly and the thoughtful. And this would be
Mm-hmm.
for me in like the top of my thoughtful bucket. Like this is
Nice.
definitely a thinkier, a sort of quieter figure it out sort of game, but it does it in such an interesting way. So I really like it too.
Yeah, I completely agree. I love Wavelength. The only thing I have to say, Chris, is I don't understand where your Codenames comparison is coming from at all. This
What?
game is
Oh.
nothing like Codenames.
Really?
I agree. I possibly even like it more than Codenames. I have no clue where you're coming from with that, but it's a great
I'm
party
happy to
game.
explain.
Please do. It has nothing to do with word association. I've tried. I spent that whole time that you were talking. Trying to
Well,
understand where
it's
that
primarily
is coming from.
word-based clues, right? You have to come up with a
Sure.
word-based clue
But,
based upon a certain spread of the board, right? And so the spy master, the person giving the clue, has to keep a poker face. Everybody has to interpret, like, you want to be. I guess you don't have to be vague, but you're going to be vague by design of the game, and so there will be some back and forth of which way to go. You have both teams being involved, paying attention, because the other team wants to get the points of like knowing
I'm with
where it
you that
is,
it's
to
a
left or
clue
right.
giving game. I'm with you
I'm-
there.
It
I'm
just
with
gives me the same feeling.
I'm with you that everything is written primarily in English.
There you
Yeah.
go. See,
There are
Grant's
words.
got my back.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
But
Any
that gripe
game that has
aside, I
words.
agree with everything you said. Wavelength is fantastic. Very memorable play experiences come from Wavelength.
Yeah. And I would for sure, I mean, do you think Codenames and Wavelength are more alike than Codenames and So Clover or Codenames and Decrypto?
Yeah, I thought you were
or
going to say
Codenames
Decrypto.
or
When you
Yeah.
said
Yeah.
Codenames,
do.
I was like, it's going to
I
be.
do think Codenames and Wavelength are
Really?
more alike than any
Yeah.
of those games. Yeah, it's
Wow.
because of the feeling. It's the feeling of
Mm.
it's the feeling of the group, right? It's sort
Well,
of that group
there's certainly
energy
a
that gets
cleverness
put
feeling,
forward.
like a
Yeah.
cleverness when you come up with a
Yeah.
good clue. I'll give you
Yeah.
that. I think both
Yeah.
games have that really well.
Yeah, Decrypto, you're working too much in tandem. I think it's the team structure as well that really sets it in with Codenames, and that's why like I would take that over a harder comparison to Codenames with Wavelength than like So Clover or Decrypto as your other examples, because like in that everybody's working on their own thing, but the sort of pass and play structure as well
Sure.
of Wavelength gets people involved more quickly than Codenames, and I think it's that aspect and that feeling of that team nature that gets to rotate quicker that I like specifically more.
100%.
I'll bring up a game too, because this is an interesting time to bring it up. Last year a game came out called Catch the Vibe. And has anybody played it? It's a new party game. It is
I've seen it. I haven't played it.
It is not as good as Wavelength. So if you're going with one, go with Wavelength. But I'm glad that Catch the Vibe exists because it's essentially Wavelength without having to think of a clever clue. So if you are with people that really don't like being in that hot seat or really don't want to have like newer gamers that are uncomfortable having to come up with something clever, Catch the Vibe is essentially there's rather than having coming up with this what it is, there's just a XY axis and there are two things on the XY axis and you put your thing down at one of the spots and everybody else has to guess where you put the spot. So it's still that same thing of like hot, this one is hot cold and this one is old or young, and then a topic comes up and you just put where your vibe is on that, and so it's sort of Wavelength but without having the pressure of coming up with a clever clue. So and I do want to, like, I would still rather play Wavelength, but I just think that this is a good one that exists sort of as an almost easier entry point to that
Yeah,
sort of
absolutely.
game.
That's
Especially
the
for
pitfall with
specific
all of
groups,
these games where there is a hot seat. Someone is a clue giver. That can always be sometimes a hang up for new gamers who get kind of anxious for it. So I'm glad that exists. I've seen it on like social media, but I didn't know how it played. So that's cool.
Yeah.
But I think that's also why I like Wavelength more than Codenames, is because the pressure is a lot less, right? You don't have one person
You're not
having
ruining
all
the
the
whole
pressure,
game with one bad
Spymaster.
clue.
Exactly. It's
Got
just
it.
like, okay, that was a chance. You rotate through your team. You're gonna go once every 8 rounds, right? You're gonna play with like 8 people or 6 people or something. And so like it feels it feels a lot less stressful, and you can get more experienced players to go first, that people get a sense, and then usually by that time I've found that newer players are always like ready to jump in after they see a couple rounds, right?
Of course. Yeah. Chris is not going to let this go, Ray. He thinks Coach Apes is exactly like Wavelength. There it is.
I'm backing off. I've
They
made
both
my
come in boxes.
That comparison
They both come in boxes.
Yes, but I
There
agree
are
that I like
pieces.
Wavelength more. So
There
we
are
can
cards
agree.
with words on them.
Okay.
You know what, Chris? You're right. You're
I don't know what
totally
to tell
right.
you.
I've seen the light.
Both of them require you to wear a full spy costume. It comes in the box. That's a deluxe copy. It's a deluxe edition.
Deluxe edition, yeah, there it is. All right, great choice, Chris. Let's move on to our number 4. And Ray, this is your choice for our collective list of top party games.
All right, so this is the game, which maybe it was the pre-show that I talked about it, that got me in trouble when I put this on my list. Andrew, the coordinator of the show, yelled at me because he couldn't find any pictures of this game. So I hope you enjoy the pictures that I took of this game last minute before the show started, because he couldn't. The BGG page is like barren. There's like nothing on this game. Yep. So I hope you enjoy the really bad photos that I took in my living room before the show today. My number 4 is a game called In Cahoots. And this is, I do not know how this game came into my possession. I think my mom found it at a yard sale in the 90s. I have not met another living soul that has ever heard of this game, but I have probably played this game more than any other board game, like period. More than Codenames, even after like working for CGE, I think I have played more In Cahoots than any other game in existence.
Wow.
So, but now I'm like, I feel like I have to defend it, because it's like, is it the best party game ever? No. Is it my favorite? Yes. And here's why. In Cahoots, you're going to be all sitting around with these little standees in front of you that are going to have a 2-word phrase on them, and they're going to be facing away from you. So like in Heads Up or whatever, where everyone can see your card except you. And on your turn, you're going to roll this, I think it's a D12, and it's going to give you a number, and that's both going to indicate who you're giving clues to and how many clues you can give. And I think it ranges from like 1 or 2 to 9. And that amount of clues is how many words you can give someone to help them guess the standee that they have in front of them. So say someone has like balance beam, right? And you roll a 4. You have to get them to guess balance beam in 4 words. And so it's a fun little creative wordplay of trying to come up with like synonyms or as few clues as possible to get them to guess that. If you get them to guess that word in less than 4, you can take the remainder of your clues and go to somebody else. So you're incentivized to do it in as little words as possible so that you can then move on to someone else and get more points. You get points based on however many times you guess your own word and how many times you help someone else guess their word. Do not think about the scoring very hard. It's very unbalanced and makes no sense. This is one of those games to not bring out to someone who's going to overgame the game, because it doesn't really make a ton of sense, but that's fine. We just play it. We just play it for fun. And the other important thing is that if you ever get stuck, if you're trying to get someone to guess balance beam, you've run out of your 4 words, that person leaves their card up for another 2 attempts. And that's one of my favorite things about this game, is that so this person can now have 2 more people come to them and give clues. So it keeps everyone at the table engaged, even if they're not the clue giver or receiver, because later, if you roll that person who still has balance beam, you can build off of the clues that were given prior, which is a really fun way to keep everybody engaged. And in addition, if the person ever says either the word balance or beam, the clue giver can say, we're in cahoots. So maybe they're like balance rope, or they're like getting stuck. They can't pull the term balance beam out of their head, but they say balance. You can say we're in cahoots. So now the person knows, okay, one of the 2 words in my 2-word phrase is balance. And there's something weird, and I have a hard time explaining it. The fact that they're all 2-word phrases is just more fun than a random phrase or a 1 word, because you can kind of, it both helps and hinders. You know, one of the words is balance, but I find for some reason people can get really stuck when they know one of the words. It almost like clogs up their brain. They get so fixated on like balance, what balance? Like they get stuck on that. And it is just my favorite in this genre of guess a word, like of your password or your heads up. It's just my favorite in that genre. We've also made custom cards. We've played this game so much that now I've mentioned my partners in medical school. We have a whole medical In Cahoots deck that's all 2-word medical phrases, customizable if you're a weirdo like me and you like to do that to your games. Yeah, that's In Cahoots. If anyone has heard of this game, let me know. I'll like give you $1 or something. I've never met anyone who knows this game. Is it a revolutionary party game? No, it is not. But I have had just the most fun playing this game over the
sounds
past
great.
Like,
yeah, you know what it
15
reminds
years.
me
It's been in
of?
my collection forever.
It reminds me of Codenames. Seriously, like, no, you know how you could build off of previous clues.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
that
It
reminds me
has
of
that
it.
feeling.
But instead of one word, you're
Absolutely.
using 2 words. So yeah, what do you think about that, Chris?
I think you're way off. We're not on the same wavelength, Ruel. You're a fool. There's nothing like Codenames out there. It's completely unique, unless you're talking about Wavelength, which is a carbon copy.
I've never heard of this game,
Yeah.
I would totally play it though, Ray. It
Yeah.
sounds fun.
I'll bring it to a convention someday.
New
Again, it doesn't revolutionize
publication,
anything.
new
It's just so good. It does this genre the best, I think.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. Sounds great.
How long would a game
I was
normally
just
take?
thinking about
However long you want it to take.
Is it
You
just
play
one of
roll,
those-
roll loosey goosey?
Got
Yeah,
it.
for sure.
Okay, cool.
play
Right
until
on.
it's fun
Yeah,
or not fun anymore.
Yeah, play till it's not fun anymore.
that's
for
cool.
sure.
I love that we went. You had a deep dive here on the list because I feel like we've heard most of these games, but none of us, had heard of.
Well, that's
Infinite.
why I'm gonna go through a lot of ones on my short list during the after show.
Yep.
But I wanted to put this on the list because I'm like, I guarantee no one has heard of this. My other ones that
Yeah.
were on my list are ones that people have heard of before. But I wanted to give a shout out to In Cahoots. I don't even know if you can buy it anymore, but if you find it at a yard sale, pick it up. It's great.
You can buy it when the op publishes it.
There we go. When we bring it back.
Yes.
My favorite thing about how much of a deep cut this game is that in the rulebook, the only social media that this publisher has listed is their Snapchat. If that tells you anything about like, how seriously they took the publishing of this game.
That's great, Snapchat.
And it dates it a little bit.
It's like learn more about our game on our MySpace page.
It's just a fax number.
Yes,
Yeah.
a fax number. Oh my gosh. All right, great number 4, Ray. Let's move on to our number 3 game. This is Back to Me, another newish game that I feel like it's probably out of the games we've talked about so far, probably the one with the most like gamery, I guess. Is that a word? It is now. I say it is. This is our collective number 3, Ready, Set, Bet. I'm a huge fan of John D. Clare, and any game that he puts out, I'm immediately interested in, especially one that involves gambling or fake gambling. This is a day at the racetrack. You're betting on the ponies with your friends or indoor family, and what it is, it's a real-time game during the race. You're going to be rolling dice and moving the little horses and placing bets in real time on this like big old like roulette style sheet here. And as you do that, you're going to get better odds if you get your bet in earlier. If it's later, then you won't get as good odds. And at the end of the race, the horses that come in first, second, or third win, place, or show. You're going to get your money back depending on how well your horse did. So you might get 10-1, 5-1 odds, whatever. So you're collecting more money. And at the end of the game, the most money wins. Now, here's the thing I was talking about, gamery aspects to it. The gamery aspects are after each race, you're going to get cards that are basically special abilities. I forget the name of the cards, but basically you have something that's going to break the rules of the game, right? So normally you cannot bet on another space that another player has. One of the cards you may have is like, hey, you could now bet on another player's space. Other things give you bonuses on ongoing bonuses. Other things give you money depending on what someone has rolled. And there are exotic bets, so you can bet on combinations like, hey, any blue horse will beat a red horse, or you want the orange horse to win, or whatever. So there's a lot going on here, more than what you would think of like a just straight up betting game. And that's what I really appreciate about this. They've taken steps to like ensure that this is easy enough for anyone to walk in off the street or whatever and play, where it's like, hey, just here's some fake money, place it on a fake horse, and if that comes in first, you win. But then John D. Clare, as he always does, he does this genius thing.
Just about to make that joke.
Wait, what joke? I totally missed the joke. You gotta say it.
These horses are fake?
Yes, exactly. What John D. Clare does here, and you can see one of the cards there, certain horses are going to finish in certain positions. You'll get money for that. But also you have things that break the rules of the game, and that's what I love. So many different things going on here for I thought was going to be a simple game. Turns out to be a lot of fun, and if you know anything about my family, we loved, back in the day, we loved going to the horse races. And what you think of horse races, I totally get it. It's not the nicest sport, but these are fake horses, so they're fine. Everything's okay, and you can bet on them and have a good time. And it's one of the loudest games that I've ever played. Like inevitably, wherever I play this, and gaming conventions, everyone starts out, everything's fine. I'm gonna bet on this. But once that timer starts and once someone starts rolling those dice, move those horses, everyone starts yelling, and it really captures the spirit of being at the racetrack. And it's a lot of fun, and that's why it's our collective number 3 on the list. Ready, set, bet.
I can definitely attest this is the loudest game I think I've ever played. I got to actually demo this game from the designer when I was at Gamescom Canada with CGE. And if you've ever worked for a booth before, like you have very little free time to actually go to a convention when you're working a convention.
Mm-hmm.
And I had like one 15-minute break, and I was like, I need to know what's going on in this corner, because all day, every day, I'm just hearing screaming from like the back of the hall. And I was like, I don't care if I play anything else. I need to know what on earth is going on at that booth that has everybody screaming.
Yes.
And yeah, I will say this isn't my favorite because it's so chaotic, but it also is on the crunchier side. But that's also, I only demoed it once, and I was demoing it with a bunch of people who didn't know each other and had a variety of skill levels. I think I would definitely give this game a second chance.
Yeah.
It is a really cool concept, though, for sure.
Yeah, I would say, Ray, definitely give it another chance,
Okay.
because here's the thing. So as the race develops, and each race you're going to get these cards that are give you the special abilities, ongoing bonuses, and whatnot. Here's the thing: if you're playing with strictly just super casual gamers or people for the first time, you don't even have to include those things. Just do the straight up, rolling the dice, moving the horse, and doing and betting. And that's super simple, and people gravitate towards that. Again, once you start rolling the dice, I don't know what it is, but the volume always increases when you play this game. But
for sure.
Yeah, but for gamers, I definitely recommend playing all 4 races, and each like the first race is straight up, and then the second, third, and fourth, that's where you add in all the extra goodies.
Ruel, your first pick in this stream was my number 1 party game of 2022, and Ready Set Bet was my number 2 party game of 2022.
Oh wow!
Wow, Grant, we're on the same
Nice.
We're on the same wavelength, my friend. Unlike Codenames, that has nothing to do with Codenames. It's wavelength.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's like you two are in cahoots.
Ah,
Hey!
all these callbacks, I love it. Let's move on to our number 2 game. Grant, I am curious to find out what your number 2 game of all-time party game is right now.
Well, everybody's going to have egg on their face right now because number 2 is ranked higher than number 5, and number 2 is Codenames.
Yeah.
I think we all agreed that number 5 was actually our number 1. So I don't know.
So Codenames, for 2 reasons I have it this high. One, Codenames is one of the only games that I've ever played that can be anything to anyone. It can feel super thinky. It can feel wild and silly. It can be, it is what you need it to be for that group. You are playing, the people you play with this game with, it sort of adapts to the group that you're playing it with. And I don't know, like Wavelength is always pretty much going to be a little bit thinky, but I've played Codenames where it's just dumb and silly and people are laughing the whole time. I've played Codenames where it's quiet and everybody's trying to think of the most clever clue. And I just don't think there are many games that sort of adapt to the group playing it like Codenames does. And then, the other reason I have it this high is an emotional connection. This is the game that got me into modern board games. So, and I think that that's probably true for a lot of people.
Oh, and yeah, for sure.
I don't know that there has been a game that's created as many gamers in the last 10 years as Codenames. And so, I will always love it for that aspect, for introducing me to the great white world of modern board games,
That's great.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true.
Of course, I remember when it came out. I'd just been in the hobby for like a year maybe, and this came out and it exploded, and it never it never went away. Like, it's still one of the top party games out there, and people still play it and talk about it, enjoy it. You know what Codenames is just like? It's just like Wavelength, Chris.
It's like, it's just like Codenames.
I mean, it is Codenames feels like Codenames. Yeah, 2015. I thought it was 2015. I just looked it up. Yeah, 2015. But
yeah, and I probably got. I mean, how many games though that like I probably got my copy in 2016, and I still play it. I don't play it as much as I did at the time I got it or whatever, but it is still a game that makes it to the table and I have fun with. And there aren't many games like that I've been playing consistently for that many years.
Yeah. I think it truly is, like, when I think of an evergreen game, like the definition of an evergreen game, Codenames is the first thing that comes to mind. And I feel like it's one of the more recent evergreen games. I can't think of another game that really has solidified that. That you just know it's going to be played forever. Kind of more recently than Codenames.
And you can tell too with the number of different offshoots that are out there, right? There's Codenames Disney, Codenames Marvel, like the licensing. Like, I haven't seen a game get licensed in such a way for so long.
Yeah.
And I also agree that, like, just like we were kind of saying about Dixit in the chat earlier, all the games get compared to Codenames, just like games get compared to Dixit. Like, this sort of created a whole genre almost.
It creates like a shorthand. You're like, oh, it's like Codenames. That is something that everyone can understand. And it's been really cool because I worked for this publisher for a couple of years, and I got to firsthand experience like the modern renaissance of this game. So this got a lot of people into the hobby now who've now been in the hobby for, like 5+ years. But there's been a really interesting resurgence with this game online. Since CGE released Codenames Online, the free browser version of this game, it got massively picked up by like mainstream content creators like XQC, Pokimane, Valkyrie, like the biggest streamers in the world play Codenames. It was the weirdest thing when I was there to see people who play like Fortnite and Among Us also playing Codenames like in the same stream, and people like knew what it was the weirdest thing. I have this poster behind me that is a Codenames like promotional poster that I made that has a bunch of streamers on it who just like love the game. It's been really cool. So now it's hitting a whole new younger audience, which is it's just going to be evergreen. It's going to just keep doing that and bringing new people into the hobby, and it's really cool. It's one of those games where whether or not you like it, you can't take away from what it did for the hobby. It's the same sort of thing like what I talked about with Wingspan. Like, it brings people into the hobby, whether or not you like it. That is a good thing to bring new people into the space.
I mean, even like Catan, like I don't really want to play Catan anymore, but I got respect for what it did for the hobby.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
that's right. All right, great call. We've got one more, friends, and we're gonna go back to Mexico, and Richard's got our #1 top party game of all time right here.
Okay, I'm back, and for the #1 on the list, and my personal #1, I am continuing on my quest for party games that work well for 2 players. And this one goes one step further. It could even be played solo as a fun game. What is it? What is this bit of crazy party sorcery? It is How Dare You, which is so good it pushed into my top 20 games of 2023. I absolutely adore this game. It is the party game that you can play anywhere. It's basically Trivial Pursuit done well as a really smart, sharp design. All it is, folks, is a deck of cards. You just take it out, shuffle it up, and you can play with anybody anywhere, standing in line, whatever. Or you can play by yourself. How does it work? What makes it so much fun? Well, you're going to get a card, you're going to pick a random number, and that's going to give you a topic. And the lead player has to guess what is the correct number for that topic. Like, this is the back of the box. There aren't really many pictures of this on Board Game Geek, but I think if we zoom in, you can see, okay, like you could get a card about solar system stuff. How many Earths are there in Jupiter? Take your best guess. You are the lead player. It's an educated guess as best you can. How many Earths are there in Jupiter? I don't know, but if I'm the lead player, I'm going to take a stab at it. I'm going to say 50. And then when it comes around to you, you have to risk, because you either raise the number. You say 50, what are you talking about? It's like 120 at least. And then it goes to the next player, who either raises the number again. This is a push your luck game, or decides to say, no, there's no way there's 500 Earths in Jupiter. Somebody eventually says, how dare you? And they say, how dare you say there are 500 Earths in Jupiter? They basically call the bluff of the last person. And then we look on the other side of the card and we find out what the number is. And if whoever made the last bid went over the limit, went too high, they end up taking the card as a penalty for losing points. But if the person who called them, who said, how dare you, is the one who was wrong, because it turns out, no, there's actually 1,200 Earths can fit in Jupiter. I don't know what the number is. Say down in the show notes or down in the comments if you think you know the answer, folks. But anyway, if they got it wrong, they get stuck for the person who called the bluff. So this is a high-stakes game of just raising and raising and raising higher until you're pretty sure, no, that's impossible. And then you call, how dare you? And there's actually some advanced rules where somebody could say, well, how dare you? And push back and double the stakes. The game is super sharp, super brilliant, so much gameplay, and it's, like I said, it's even fun to play by yourself and see how well you can score, and just play it as like a little series of trivia, because there are so many. How many cards are in this box? I forget, but each card has like 5 entries. There's tons and tons of replay in this game, and I hope in 2024 this goes wider, because everybody should have a copy of How Dare You in their back pocket, in their backpack, in their purse, or whatever, because you could play it anywhere, and I guarantee you everybody will have an amazing time. This game is a miracle of design, and that's why it's number 1. How dare you? It's just a shame about the box art, which is not great, but otherwise I love everything about it. All right, back to you guys.
Yeah, that box art has a lot to be desired, but another game that I've never heard of.
How dare you?
How dare you? Interesting concept. I do enjoy a trivia game every now and then, but this one seems pretty cool. It's like my favorite trivia game is probably Wits and Wagers. I like that one a lot.
Yeah.
But this one seems interesting. I like the that whole. Again, I do like almost like a gambling aspect as far as like, hey, how far do you want to push? And what I'm trying to say is I have a gambling problem, folks. That's all there is to say.
You did pick Ready, Set, Bet.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's true.
I'll be going to Gamblers
claim.
Anonymous after this. No, but seriously, I think this looks like a fun game, and it seems like Richard's pushing for this one to be signed as well. So just happens to have Ray here from the ops. So Ray, I'll let you comment on that.
Yeah. No, this looks great. One of my biggest gripes, I love trivia games, but I tend to not love them when there is a, like, you just know the answer or you don't.
Yeah.
I love when it's a relative. Everybody, it's a leveler, right? When everyone's kind of shooting in the dark. And I love that push your luck element. It's not like you're betting on like, oh, who got it right. It's you can continue to push it. I think that's brilliant. I agree.
Yep.
Box art leaves a lot to be desired.
Oh, it's
but
terrible.
The gameplay sounds great. And I love that it's it plays at a low player count. That is, I commend Richard for trying to find games that fit the party genre that work at such low play counts, because that's hard to do. And this looks like a great one.
Yeah.
Well, I guess any trivia game can kind of play at a low player count. You
For
can
sure,
just
for
sit
sure.
and read the cards yourself, right? Like,
Yeah,
and
but
see
a
if you
trivia
know the
game that's
trivia.
good enough to be like your favorite party game, that's impressive.
That is
Yeah.
definitely. Okay. So there you go, friends. The top 10 party games. Click on the show notes below. Let us know what your favorite party game is, and be sure to click on that like and subscribe button. And did you know there is an extended edition of the show? We got to know Grant a lot better during that extended edition, so click on that link and hear all the chat. And we also do a bunch of games that didn't make the list, so we're going to record that. We're recording this live right now on Twitch. We're going to record that, and y'all can see that by clicking on that link. But until next time, I want to say thank you for watching. This has been the R&R Show, episode 82. Until next time, we'll see you later. Take care. Bye-bye. And we are back.
Bada
Yay.
bing.
Yay.
What's up,
Chat, thank you for hanging out. Good to see y'all. Let me get this thing back up. Get all the little avatars. Y'all are still here. Thank you.
I realize now that Richard wasn't just he actually loves all of my picks all the time. And when he was saying "How dare you," he was just playing his trivia game. Yeah, so that actually makes me feel better.
Oh, you feel better.
A lot better.
Oh my gosh, Nerd Incorrect. Hello, good to see you. Thank you for hanging out. I also want to thank our friends Loozapalooza for the raid earlier. We weren't ignoring you. We were just recording the show. So thanks again for hanging out with us today. Speaking of Nerd Incorrect, I'm going to be on this show next Monday. Tim has got a bunch of us playing code names, which is nothing like Wavelength, but you're going to see it is it's a fantastic game. We have a good time with Tim. Games that didn't make the list. We've got a few of those. Grant, do you have any that didn't make the list that you'd like to talk about?
Boy, I have so many.
Okay, this is the time to do it. We've got 12 minutes left, so.
I play so many party games because I play with non-gamers. And so,
Same.
Party games are some of the best ones to get people into the hobby. So I'll tell you, probably our most played party game at my house is Bang the Dice game. Because it is, you just roll dice and attack each other, and people have hidden rolls. And so, of course, comedians just want to shoot each other and attack each other and stuff like that. And so Bang the Dice game works really well for that. It's really easy to teach. It plays quickly. It's sort of an introduction to hidden rolls. And it's just literally just rolling stuff. There we go. Hey.
Look at that.
I made a top 10 party games video at some point. I could not have told you that.
Oh wow, look how different.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Was this one of your earliest videos, Grant?
That was definitely then one of my earliest videos.
Yeah.
Sure.
Wow.
Nice.
So yeah, that's pre-mustache.
Yeah.
No mustache,
Deep
we
cut.
hate you. We hate you.
I don't even know who you are.
Yeah,
I
who
only
is this?
subscribe
Who is
for
this
the
imposter?
mustache.
So yeah, I mean that's like one of the ones we just play all the time here because it's super fun. My favorite new party game is Blob Party. I've played a lot in the last year, and it's
I thought that might be on your list.
Yeah, it hasn't. I would say this year, 2023. When I say this year, this past year was the best game overall for party games that I have seen in a while. Meaning that like there are multiple party games from this past year that probably are now in my top 10 of all time.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's Not a Hat was my number 2 party game of last year, and that's probably in my top 10 now. Blob Party was my number 1. That's in my top 10 party games. Trash Talk is really good from this past year.
Talk about code names like games. Trash Talk is a great one.
Love Trash Talk.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean those are one of the games that I played a lot when I was first getting into the hobby too, that like I got introduced to was Cash and Guns, was like a super fun party game from 10 years ago that got me in, so yeah.
Yeah, Cash and Guns is a blast, and I love that Cash and Guns. You're literally pointing fake guns at each other. That's fun.
Yeah.
Great call. What about you, Chris? Anything that didn't make our combined list here?
Yeah, there was a few crossovers. Code Names was just kidding. No, the one that like I is my favorite, and this is where the conversation can get much larger. I could open this can of worms. I was going to put Avalon on there because I think Avalon is a fantastic big group game.
Yeah.
But we were having a conversation before we started about the difference between like social deduction heavy games. Does Blood on the Clock Tower even like fall into this category? Ray and Grant were vehemently against
adamant
that.
No.
Yeah,
I
so like I love Avalon so much, but I also think the reason why like That's Not a Hat got the nod is because like for me you need the right group. You need the right group for social deduction because some people can really not have a good time. Like if you're with people who are loud, yeah.
Avalon's still a lot easier than Blood on the Clock.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
totally. Yep.
Yeah.
And Avalon is significantly better than Werewolf because you don't get kicked out, right?
Yeah.
Like nobody ever gets kicked out. I think that's what Blood on the Clock Tower does really well as well, is that you're always still in the game. Because there's nothing like for me, I hate playing Werewolf because I'll die night 1 or night 2 and I'll be like, great, now I just get to watch a game for an hour. No, thank you. I will go and have fun playing a game for the whole time of this game night rather than just sitting in silence.
Yeah.
Right. So Avalon was way up there. Talking about trivia games, I was just thinking of this one. There's a game called You Must Be an Idiot, or you must be the idiot. Where there's a trivia game where if you draw a card, or you might be the idiot, and so you have to get it wrong. And so if you can point around the table to somebody who's purposefully got it wrong, like you also get points, or else like the idiot steals the points. And so the best example of this was we were playing, and it was like, hey, what team is Wolverine a part of, was the question or something. And my friend Damo, he put the X-Men's, and I was like, oh yeah, I thought he was just being funny, but then my buddy was like, no, he's the idiot. He's putting that specifically as like, it's the X-Men, it's not X-Men's, it's X-Men. You're the idiot. And he's like, yeah, I'm the idiot.
Nice.
So like, yeah, there's some really fun, or if you don't know the answer to something too, like it helps lessen that sting a bit, right? In terms of, I thought that's a nice like trivia structure. And the one I played recently too that I just thought of, I thought of at the beginning of the stream, it's a game called Palm Island. I played it recently for the first time, and what you do, there are these cards, and yeah, that's exactly it. Grant's played it. You take a card and you give it to somebody, and it shows where, like, what fingers they have to hold it in between. And so they have to stick that card in there, and everybody has like a sleeve, you know, those like fake tattoo sleeves that you put on. It makes you look like a palm tree, and you have to keep your elbow on the table, and then you just end up getting like a mitt full of cards of all these cards like stacked in between, and the last person to standing wins. It's very silly. One of those. Yeah, it's so silly. One of those games where like, silly. This isn't going to work. This is going to be stupid, and it was friggin' blast, right? I think a lot of games are like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the ones that are off the top of my head. Like I had Fake Artist too, and Letter Jam. Letter Jam is also one that I really like. Letter Jam. Yeah. It's like Hanabi meets Wavelength.
Yep.
So if you like the silly physical games, his name might change, but McMiller has done very big, silly physical games before, and they have one coming out this year that is potentially called Meow Meow, which is essentially you are wearing oven mitts and having to get
I've seen this
incredible
out of like a cat toy ball.
No way. Oh my god. That's
so stupid.
It's so stupid. I want to play.
So funny.
I swear, my family plays a variation of that game on Christmas. We literally wear oven mitts, and someone has wrapped up a present with all kinds of wrapping paper, and you take turns trying to open, using these mitts trying to rip open the present, and you only have like 10 seconds to do it. Then you have to pass to the next person. It's okay. Yeah, I'm all in on Meow Meow or whatever they end up calling it.
Heck yeah.
What about you, Ray?
There's another one that I just thought of. Is a game that could be louder than Ready Set Bet. It's called Happy Salmon. If you've
I love Happy Salmon. Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody's
just screaming. You're like, high five,
bump,
Happy Salmon, Happy Salmon, and you just have cards in your hand that you're trying to get rid of, and in order to get rid of it, you have to do something with somebody else around the circle. It's
such
so
a great
dumb,
game,
but just like it's very loud. And,
you're right.
If you hear screaming,
that's right.
It's probably it could be that.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally. Ray, got anything that you'd like to share that wasn't on the list?
Yeah, well, I'm getting called out in chat. Olympian saying no Yum Yum Island hype. Listen, we've talked about Yum Yum Island. If you have not heard about Yum Yum Island, go back and watch the top 10 or 15 food games. Because Yum Yum Island is fantastic. I didn't want to cross over on this list, but that's one of my favorite party games.
Yep.
I had a ton of crossover as well. That's Not a Hat. Codenames, Wavelength, all fantastic. I'm also going to throw into the ring Poetry for Neanderthals is really good. If you like those like silly word guessing games, that's a really fun one. I love, if you like just anxiety, I love Stay Cool. I love like real-time stressful games. I love that game. I know a lot of people don't like it. It's too much. I love it. My only issue with it is that some of the cards are weirdly translated or like don't quite make sense in an American context. Like there's the word flat for apartment. There's a couple moments like that. But I love Stay Cool. It has to be with the right group. You have to know people aren't going to like get anxious and leave. I also really love Phantom Inc., which I didn't put on this list because I worked on it. But if you like Codenames and you're looking for something new and different, Phantom Inc. is a really interesting take on that clue-given hidden information style. And then lastly, I wanted to put Blank Slate on this list, and I didn't because I wanted to put In Cahoots because I thought it was a deeper cut. But Blank Slate is iconic. It's a great game that we make at the Op that is just, we play that game a ton at family gatherings. If you are the gamer who's always bringing games home to non-gamers, Blank Slate is great. It's always a riot with a variety of ages, and it's super simple, super easy. It doesn't have that anxiety component of like a trivia game. There's no like generational, even with Wavelength, sometimes like one of them is like sexy to unsexy Pokemon. There are cards that can be a little bit generationally isolating in Wavelength. That is a real card. I'm not making that up. That's real. Blank Slate doesn't have anything like that. It works really well with kids and older people. And then lastly, I have, since starting at the op, rediscovered Hues and Cues. The first time I played it didn't really hit for me. And now that I've come back and rediscovered it after starting my job at the op, I've really come around to it with the house rule that you have to use, all your clues have to be abstract concepts or like emotions or feelings. We totally throw out the 1-word, 2-word clue. We do long, elaborate sentences and vibes. And that has completely revolutionized Hues and Cues for me. It's actually one of my favorite party games right now.
Very cool. Nice. Yeah, one of mine was actually Blank Slate as well. That one works with so many different types of situations. Always love it. And the one that
it's so safe. Like no one dislikes Blank Slate.
Exactly, you know? Right? It's a big hit wherever I take it. One that none of us mentioned, but I feel like it's still solid to this day, and actually won a I think Spiel des Jahres a couple of years ago, was Just One. Fantastic word game. I guess
Just
like
One is great.
Yeah, probably like Codenames if Chris was to describe it, but
it's very similar to Wavelength.
Yeah, similar to Wavelength too. But that's a cooperative game, and that's a lot of fun. One I will highlight that I recently played on my channel with my wife Michelle was Tumbling Dice. This is a blast.
Tumbling Dice.
This is so awesome. Basically, everyone has a set of dice, and if you can tell, this is like almost like steps. Starting at 0, 1, 2, 3, you take one die at a time. You take on your turn, you just roll it down the little steps. Wherever it ends up, you're going to get multiplied. So if I have a 6 times 3, I get 18 points. But as you go, of course, your opponents are going to try to knock off your dice and keep their dice on there. So you can roll it a little harder, put a little touch on there, and you play 3 rounds, the most points wins. It's not a totally loud game, but it can get pretty loud. Oh, here we are. Whenever we win games on my channel, we have the Gaviola Cup, and you get your name on the cup. So I think Michelle won that game. So we'll rewind. We'll pretend I still have a chance. This game is a lot of fun. It's actually was my favorite dexterity game of all time until I learned how to play Crokinole, and now Crokinole is #1. But Tumbling Dice, folks, is so good.
I didn't even think about games like Crokinole. That also adds
I love
Clask.
Yeah,
should also be on this list somewhere if we're considering.
I love Crokinole. Yeah,
dexterity games like that. Oh man,
but
there's so many good party games.
There are.
Literally talk about the subject forever. Party games are my favorite genre. I love them so much.
Same. So yeah, definitely check out Tumbling Dice if you haven't, folks. It's so good. It's a lot of fun. It's put out by Eagle Griffin, I think, right now has the license. So, anyways, we're out of time. Thank you again, folks, for hanging out with us. It's been great. Want to thank our guest, Grant Lyon, for hanging out with us today. And Grant, again, we really appreciate you taking the time to hang out and talk about party games. Do you want to plug anything upcoming that you got? Tours, shows, anything?
Again, I'll be at TantrumCon soon, and I'll be at Level Up. So, come sign up to play games with me and say hello and stuff.
Awesome.
Then follow me on like TikTok and Instagram and YouTube.
Will do, folks, and you'll see all the links to Grant's work in the show notes below when we put this up on YouTube. Let's go raid a channel, take the party elsewhere. Any suggestions as far as who is out there? I don't see anyone who's playing board games right now.
AG Fox is saying Wavelength for life.
Wavelength for life.
That out before we go.
Nice.
Yeah, baby.
Let me see. Who's playing board games?
A friend of mine, Jamie, is unboxing the Stormlight RPG or TTRPG miniatures.
Oh, okay, cool. What is that? Jamie Daggers?
Yeah, Jamie Daggers. She's rad as heck.
Oh, cool. We're gonna raid Jamie Daggers, folks.
Yeah.
So stick around for the raid in 10 seconds. Again, appreciate y'all taking the time to hang out with us today, and we'll see you next time on the R&R Show, where next time we'll talk about why Wavelength is nothing like Codenames. And until then, we'll see you later, folks. All right, bye now.
Bye, friends.
And the raid is on. Let's see if it goes through. And we've gone through